Yeah, now we are doing it fucking live. What is up, everybody? I'm Adam. That is Miles. That is Mike. And we are here to talk about some football. And here we go. So, night before last, I believe, was Monday night, excuse me. Monday night was the national championship between LSU and Clemson. Now, that game was very reminiscent of a game on Sunday with Kansas City and Houston with the way it played out. But any thoughts on the LSU game?
I'll let you take it, Miles. I didn't really watch much of it.
Okay. I have a couple of things that I want to know more about. And maybe, Mike, you can enlighten me if you keep up with much college. I know Davis doesn't. And I will keep it short about the game. But I understand Trevor Lawrence is like the next biggest thing, right? I mean, everyone is talking up this man like before the game, even though they were the underdogs, that he was going to be the next number one pick. And I feel like that is probably true last year. But this year, this Joe Burrow, what he has done, I feel like it's just amazing, man. That guy, it's pretty spectacular to have those kind of passing stats in the SEC.
No, I absolutely agree with you. My thing is, I don't understand why Clemson was considered an underdog, considering that they've been in the national championship for the past 3 fucking years.
I don't either, but they got it right, obviously.
Well, no, not necessarily, dude. Because all right, so yeah, Burrow's badass, definitely, but he's going to be number one in the draft. But doesn't Lawrence stay in another year?
Yes, he has to go and stay in another year.
Yeah,
he does.
so,
yeah. And speaking of Burrow, man, I am no quarterback whisperer. I don't claim to know a great deal, but watching him pass the ball, it's like he just puts it right where it needs to go. It's like, whoo, it's like Aaron Rodgers a few years back, the way he's throwing in college right now. So it's fun to watch that a whole lot. And I really couldn't have given a shit who won, but good for LSU.
Yeah, I haven't seen much college this year, and I've seen very little Joe Burrow. But I mean, what I have seen, the guy is amazing. I mean, he seems like as much a sure thing, on film versus amateur athletes. He looks every bit the part of like Peyton Manning did when he came out in '98, and I mean, maybe that's really the only comparison I could draw.
Wow.
Because everybody knew Manning was going to go number one overall, that he was the best guy that year. And then Ryan Leaf went number two. But I mean, everybody looked at Manning and what he did at college. I mean, he almost won 2 different national championships. He finished second in the Heisman voting, which wasn't his fault, but it was because it was such a strong class. And Burrow, man, he's definitely going to go to the Bengals. He's going to have AJ Green maybe for a year or two. And hopefully they can build some pieces around him. But he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in the pros for sure.
It's exciting.
All right. So
on the controversy.
Yeah, let's just might as well just dive right in. So dumbass fucking Odell Beckham Jr. Comes out on the field and starts handing out money. And then the school at first tried to say, no, it was fake money. Then someone came out later. It's like, no, it was real money. He smacked a security guard's ass in the locker room, and warrant has been issued for his arrest. And before all of that, he kept trying to get up on the band director's podium, which he had to be escorted off by a cop because he was acting like a dumbass.
Yeah, this really kind of goes to the heart of, really you should have some separation between alumni for certain schools and the college athletes and things, because there are so many restrictions in the NCAA scenario right now. I think that it's probably more fortunate that this type of thing hasn't happened more frequently. There have been some things that haven't made the media, that haven't made the news rounds because the schools keep it quiet. They bring these guys in, they think it's all flash and flare. It's a good recruiting tool to see these guys in the sideline, and then they act like a fool. Odell Beckham, all he needs is a place to happen, and he's just an accident waiting to go off. And, this whole thing with the money puts the school in a bad situation, puts the kids in a bad situation. Just think of this for a minute. Like, if they really wanted to crack down on it, go letter of the law, which at times they have to do because of the way they punish other schools. What if they took away the eligibility of several of these kids that were standing there and were being handed stacks of money, which, I would take the damn money, and now all of a sudden they can't play next year. This is a real possibility of what could happen.
Yep. And to your point, I think that is the biggest crime. Like, OBGA being a dickhead is just that. There's not much more to it in my pace. I think it's bad look for colleges if they're trying to promote this whatever holier than thou that they do. We're giving you so much for you coming here. blah blah blah. But I'm not smart enough to put together a solid argument as to why these athletes need to get paid, but I'm not dumb enough to let NCAA think that they can just have their way with this. It's something's got to give, and that's what his whole thing was. And him being a dickhead is him being a dickhead and an ass, and it looks bad on him. It looks bad on his football club. It looks bad as him being an alumni for the LSU. But it's the money part. I like his purpose and his point behind it. I can't say I argue with him. Give him money.
Not exactly. And the security guard thing, we were talking about a little bit off air. It's the most ridiculous McDonald's hot coffee lawsuit type crap. If anybody's watched the video, it's very clear that this was not assault or battery or whatever the hell they use as a term. They were going to issue the arrest warrant for him for, and I mean it's always a cash grab. But again, as I said off air, it's one of these things. If you put yourself in a situation where you're handing out $100 bills to players on the sideline just to be the center of attention at all costs, and something like this happens, it's no different than a pro athlete going into a nightclub with an entourage with a trash bag full of money, Pac-Man Jones, and the worst of the worst type things happen, and then you're stuck in lawsuits for years. You get suspended, and on and on and on. So you kind of you reap what you sow, I guess is the best way to put that.
So did you watch any of that game at all, Mike?
Very little. I was in and out of the house a lot. So, I saw just a very little bit of it.
Yeah, it looked just like the Kansas City Texas game. It really did because, Clemson came out, kicking ass. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, LSU showed up, and that was it. The exact same thing happened in fucking Sunday when Kansas City went down 24-0 in the first fucking quarter. And let's be factual about this. That wasn't the Texans' offense. That was Houston's special teams that made 14 of those points.
Yeah,
true.
So,
that's in a nutshell, it's one of the best games I've ever seen because I knew instantly when they got up 24-0 and then Kansas City went down that first drive of 7 drives in a row where they ended in touchdowns. After the first one, I'm like, dude, this game's over because they cut through them with such a ferocity, and Mahomes did not have a demeanor of a quarterback that was down 17 points in a playoff game. He was fired up, and that's one of these guys. He's an all-world talent, a once-in-a-lifetime generational talent, and for him to have that mindset of, oh, dude, we're coming to kick the shit out of you right now. I knew it. I was like, all right, if they can even get this close by halftime, they're going to win this football game. And damn if they didn't come back, and halftime was 28-24, and it just kept on going. I've never seen anything like that.
No, it was a phenomenal game, dude. They really put it to them, and they put it to them hard. They did not let up whatsoever. The first quarter they weren't there, but that was just a lot of miscues on the special teams part. Yeah, and exactly, Miles, because we were talking about the day before. Me and you were on texting back and forth about these guys getting braced and having that first week off. You can really see which players really kind of benefit from it.
Oh, it's 2 weeks off. Yeah. It's 2 weeks off for them and the Ravens. Both of them, had a lot in common with that rust factor because, they had the bye week, but also Houston. Well, Houston didn't have the second week off. I'm sorry. But they did rest their starters in week 17, so it was almost a little bit of a rest as well for them.
Yeah, but they played last week, though.
Yeah.
Right. I figured that out while I was talking.
You don't rest youth like that. That's a bad game plan. You keep your young players in and you keep playing them. And if you had the veteran, if Peyton Manning was playing for you, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, you rest these guys. But come on, to rest these guys that are on top of their game at the time, and you just say, okay, sit down for the next 2 weeks. Baltimore couldn't overcome it not only because of lack of overall talent. Obviously, Kansas City has it more. I'm not saying Baltimore doesn't have it, but I don't think there's an argument that Kansas City is a better football team as a whole.
Obviously,
right. So
I agree.
It's interesting how bad they lost, and I think a lot of it came down the Texans being them, and I think a lot of it came down to coaching too. You can't. How does that happen? How do you 51 unanswered points for 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden you get the last touchdown in garbage time?
Yeah,
it's unacceptable. I don't understand.
I'm so glad you said that.
It's not only Deshaun Watson is a rare talent that's, I think, floundering now. I mean, that's just my opinion, because I am uncertain. I don't feel confident in what's going on down there with him.
I've never felt confident of anything that's going down in Texas, except for when they had Arian Foster. That was the only thing that I felt confident in. Other than that, dude, they haven't had shit. They can't. None of their quarterbacks have panned out, and they really have an opportunity with Watson to make something happen. And I mean, Adoree Jackson wasn't even there, was he? Did he get hurt, or did he not even?
Jackson?
Yeah. No, he didn't get hurt. He just didn't get. He didn't get any. It wasn't targeted in like the whole first half.
Who are you talking about?
Adoree Jackson's. You rolled over to a Titans guy. You still talking about the Texans?
Hopkins. Yes. You're talking about Hopkins. DeAndre
Hopkins. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So here's my thing. It's really, there's two things. Miles nailed it in the first one. Is the coaching. I mean, if you look at O'Brien year after year, they're inconsistent. During the year, they managed to get to the wild card, or I think one year they won the division and skipped a round, but they always fall flat. Brian Hoyer game, 31-0. I think it was Kansas City that beat them that year. Yeah. I mean, just flattened them. Whoever they play, they come out, they look unprepared, sloppy. There's pre-snap penalties, there's special team mistakes, and all that stuff is 100% coaching. Mm-hmm. You could take any group of players and put them on special teams, and if you coach them the right way, they don't have these mistakes that they have in the playoffs like they did with Houston. Oh, actually, it's several teams, but Houston, I guess, is what we're talking about. And the thing about, Watson is that he is a great quarterback, but look at the stuff they got around him. They got there's no cohesive plan to the pieces. No. Shift over to like a roster like the Patriots, and they build a certain style of player at each position so that, Wes Welker goes out, Julian Edelman, 7th round draft pick, moves into the same spot. He's literally the exact same player because he fits a role in the offense. I don't think Bill O'Brien has roles in the offense. I think he just grabs people. And now it's a lot worse because they don't have a general manager, and he's running that position. And they're, doing all these trades where they're shipping Clowney off. They're getting guys off Miami's roster and giving 1st round picks out, just as gifts. So, no, I think it's going to get worse. I think O'Brien gets another year, and then depending on how bad they lose in the playoffs, if they get there again, now the ownership has changed too because Bob McNair's passed away. I think Cal, his son, is kind of in charge of the organization. I would not be surprised, even if they make the wild card, if they're one and done next year. I think O'Brien's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, he should be gone.
Yes. Yeah.
I agree.
Look. Yeah.
Playoff wins or no, it's a sloppy mess.
I mean, how many playoff games has he won?
One, maybe. Yeah. I mean, maybe 2 at a high end, but I mean, over a number of years. He's been there 5 or 6 years since Kubiak left.
So, he won 2 weeks ago, and that's the only one I know of.
I think so.
Wow.
Could be.
Yeah,
they were one and done last year or the year before, whatever it was.
But then Kansas City looked great, and it's gonna be a barn burner with them next week. I mean, where the Texans look like they're not, they're just a bunch of pieces put together. Kansas City has got a lot of talent across both sides of the ball, and one of the unheralded good moves this season towards the end of the year is Terrell Suggs getting picked up off of waivers, and he's made a big difference for them because they have so many attack pass rushers now. They're really kind of a scary team.
I think the Titans are 1-5 against Andy Reid.
I read that they were 4-0 against the Chiefs in the playoffs.
I meant vice versa. Excuse me. They're 5-1 against Andy Reid.
Yeah,
but that includes Eagles.
Right.
That's got a good thing going for them.
Yeah, the Titans just beat the Eagles a lot for some reason. We only played them once every 4 years, but we won just about all those games.
So what you got now? The Minnesota Vikings?
Yes. Well, yeah. Minnesota Vikings against the San Francisco 49ers, and the 49ers made them their bitch.
They are playing like a team possessed, man. I love to watch them play. I love everything about it. I love watching their defense play. That says something because defense is good. It's fun when it comes along in these packages from time to time that we celebrate, this Iron Curtain and Baltimore from years. Even if you're a Titans fan, you have to recognize their defense was good. And the San Francisco 49ers have something here, and it's exciting to watch. I mean, they took Minnesota and made them look foolish. This Nick Bosa has lived up to the hype, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do against San Francisco.
Andy Reid,
Green Bay.
Andy Reid is 1-8 when coaching against the Tennessee Titans while working with the Eagles in Kansas City.
It's pretty good.
Nice.
For us.
We need to make it 1-9. Sorry, so we'll go back to the 49ers. What were you saying?
That's my take on them. I mean, they're exciting to watch. I think they are the real deal. I don't think there's any hype here that's unjustified. They seem to do what they come to do, and they made the Vikings look silly. I mean, what did Dalvin Cook had under 20 yards? Come on.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's really one of these things during the season that you watch San Francisco have such a good run to start out. I think they were 10-0 at the gate or 11-0 or something.
Yeah.
And you watch them every week thinking, man, you know, they can't shift gears this quickly. They can't be this good after what happened last year, even though last year Garoppolo was hurt. Common sense would dictate, you know, you don't go from 4-12 to, you know, starting the season 10-0. So you're kind of watching and thinking, okay, this next game, they're going to come back there this next game. And they really didn't. The only reason they kind of fell off towards like the mid to the end of the regular season was because, you know, they had a lot of injuries. Yes. And then they had the bye week going into the playoffs, got healthy. And you saw what they could do last week. I think they completely deconstructed the Vikings. They beat the Vikings so bad that the offensive coordinator for the Vikings is now the Browns coach.
Yeah.
So that's
to be fair, if you looked at the stats, the Vikings led in just about everything except for rushing yards.
Yeah, I know.
Not rushing yards, but Jimmy Garoppolo only had 131 yards. He had one touchdown, one interception. Now, Kirk Cousins was 21 of 29 for 172 yards for a touchdown and interception.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook, dude, he had 18 yards rushing.
Yes.
But their game plan was bland. The 49ers were opportunistic, so while they may not have more yards, I think they won the turnover battle. They won field position. Those are two things that can change a playoff game in a hurry and make it look upside down where you don't have the numbers in your favor, but you win handily. And this game wasn't even close. So I think that's a real testament to Kyle Shanahan. I think he could be coach of the year. I don't know who else I put in that category except maybe John Harbaugh. The job he's done with him
all season. You have been all about Shanahan all season.
Hey, that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Sorry,
I think he's done a great job. A lot of people looked at the Falcons and when he was there and they're like, oh, he just had all these pieces around. And then he goes to the 49ers. Also on the same note, John Lynch. You want to talk about somebody building a roster with attention. I think their draft picks and what they've done with the defensive line, they're looking really, really strong. I'm not surprised by the outcome against the Vikings, and I think it's going to be a really good close matchup with them in Green Bay this next weekend.
Do you really think it's going to be a close match? I really don't see Green Bay doing it.
Well, I mean, the 49ers don't really lead. I mean, they haven't won any games like 40-0 this year. I mean, there's been a lot of close games and a couple where they've beaten some lesser teams by the score that they should have. But I don't think Green Bay is that much of a lesser team. I mean, they made it here for a reason, although I don't know what that is. And, you know, they got Aaron Rodgers, so you can't discount them too much.
I feel the same way about this game that I did the other game. On Saturday, I thought the San Francisco's could beat Green Bay. But then on Sunday, I questioned that. And the same thing with the Titans. On Saturday, I thought they could beat Kansas City. And then when I saw Kansas City play Sunday, I said, oh, my word. I don't know anymore. It was that polar.
You know, before that game started, I was telling people, I was like, you know what? I'd rather Texas win because I would feel better about Texas winning.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it wasn't meant to be. You know, I really didn't want to play them again. You know, the cool thing is the Titans have beaten both Kansas City and Houston. So both teams, you know, there's going to be something to prove both ways, and it'll be interesting to watch. But I don't think Houston, if they went to the Super Bowl over the Titans, I don't think that they put up a lousy game. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I totally lost what I was just fixing to fucking say. Damn it.
If that little red box wasn't there, you would never do that.
Right? I know it, dude. I know. But yeah. God damn it. Anyways, so
sorry,
Seattle and Green Bay, then might as well go into that.
Well, I don't know. I'll go first here. Green Bay. If you're a Green Bay fan, this was an exciting game to watch, I suppose. I mean, maybe. You came out somewhat hot, and you managed to keep the lead just barely.
It wasn't a game until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the Seahawks, and they're one of the teams in the playoffs that I'm waiting to fail, and it sucks because I see this Russell Wilson, and I hate seeing him do this much and not have any support. But this is year after year. I mean, I don't know what else to say about them. They don't do anything for him, man. I'm sorry. Marshawn Lynch and PJ O'Rourke or whoever the hell it is that he's got in this backfield. I don't even know their name. And I mean, they don't. And this is year after year after year after year, man. Well, I mean, they don't help him.
So so is it fair to say that Russell Wilson is the West Coast version of Matt Stafford?
I think he's an edge better, but it's not far. It's not not far off. No.
Well, I mean,
that's very eerily close, and I would never have compared him to Stafford.
No, but it's not far off, and a lot of similarities there with their status, with their teams, and how they don't have support.
Stafford only had who the fuck, Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Had him for a long time, but that was it.
Yep. But Wilson is accounted for more of the total offense, I think, than Stafford has. He may have these 5,000 passing yard seasons, but he's not doing the same tricks that Wilson does.
Right.
Well, and the thing too is, you nailed it. I mean, they don't have a lot of pieces around, and the offensive line has been better this year than it has been in years past, but at the risk of their skill position players. To me, DK Metcalf's going to be a great player. The only problem with a guy like DK Metcalf is that he's going to be the only great wide receiver on a team that needs, people to throw the ball to. They don't have a real strong tight end core. They don't have guys that can stretch the field, and you just wind up in a situation. Pittsburgh. I mean, you look at Pittsburgh when Antonio Brown gone, Juju Smith-Schuster. Everybody's expecting a big year. All the fantasy drafts, people are taking him first, second round.
Yep.
And where was he? Because now he's the guy you double cover. He's the guy you game plan for, and he's not really. Schuster's not a number one receiver. Clearly, he's a great number two if you have someone to take the focus off of him. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of players like that in the league.
Yep.
And you have the same thing here in Seattle. Metcalf's not super fast. He's a big receiver. And Wilson's back there trying to find people to get open. He was scrambling the whole game. And it's not so much the fault of the offensive line as, it's more coverage sacks. He's got to hold the ball forever. And then I think Pete Carroll, for all of his strengths as a coach, puts too much on Wilson.
Yes.
And it just continues to allow this to happen year in and year out. And if you watch them in the draft, they trade first-round draft picks. They go and they make these off-season deals for veteran players and wind up getting very little in return. Like Jimmy Graham. You go all the way back to Percy Harvin. And it's just a regular year in, year out thing to try to Band-Aid things for a year or two. But what it comes down to is they're not really putting enough skill position talent out there in Seattle because they think Wilson's just going to make up for it. Tom Brady had the same thing early in his career. And that's why they didn't win more Super Bowls for like that 15-year stretch between the third one and the fourth one is because, he had no receivers to throw to. He had Randy Moss one year, and that's, predominantly it. But I do hate to see them lose. I was hoping they get through. I'm not a huge Packers fan, but, they didn't have what it takes.
They almost did. I mean, dude, Russell Wilson had 277 yards for passing. He also had 64 yards rushing, led his team in rushing. With Marshawn Lynch coming up, behind him with 26 yards. I mean, Tyler Lockett had 136 yards receiving. I mean, it was a close game, but it just didn't feel like it was a close game. It just felt like a slug fucking game.
Yep.
It was. And Green Bay's not a flashy team. I think they're very susceptible to get beaten because, they have two guys they alternate at running back that neither one of them can seem to ever generate any yards. And what's his name? Jones. Everybody has given him so much hype this year. Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
He has all these touchdowns, but
he's fallen flat in his playoffs, man.
Yep. Third down, when they have to depend on him, he really is never there. He's gotten a lot of scores this year.
Yeah.
From some of them, some fluky plays and a lot of wheel routes out of the backfield and stuff. But when you have to have a guy on third and short to depend on, he's not there. So you got Aaron Rodgers and that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so who do you think with San Francisco and Green Bay then?
I'm inclined to go 49ers. I'm inclined to go 49ers, but it could go either way.
I say 49ers, man. I'm fully backing them. I'm on the bandwagon with them. They got it. Green Bay's not got a chance.
It's just, like, I don't know which one of y'all were saying, you can never count Aaron Rodgers out. But, dude, it's just I don't feel it. All right, whatever. I don't feel it with this team, dude. I don't feel it with this fucking Green
Just takes
Bay.
one game, though. He can show up one game and throw for 450 yards. I don't know why he hasn't all season.
I don't either.
Come close to it because he doesn't have anybody either. He's got
Devontae Adams. That's it.
Devontae. Well, he's got Jimmy Graham.
Hey, do you know he played basketball?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They bring that up every news
every game.
broadcast.
Every game.
Broadcast.
And then they usually mention Antonio Gates, maybe. I'll throw that in there, too. Oh, he played basketball, too.
Ryan Fitzpatrick. Do you know he went to Harvard? I mean, it's like the same catchphrase bullshit they throw out every game.
He's black, too. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Booger.
No shit. All right, so we might as well just fucking get into the Titans and the fucking Ravens, man. Hell yes. Hell yes.
Oh my
At the 12th, Derrick Henry made them his bitch. Not only did he, rush all over their asses, but he even threw a touchdown pass. It was his only touchdown of the fucking game.
They called it the Tebow play.
Oh, dude. Yeah, the jump pass, I mean, it was a literal jump pass. Yeah,
that's what they called it to him. I saw a shot on Twitter. I don't know what video feed it's from, NFL Films or whatever. Mike Vrabel talking to Derrick Henry coming off the field. He's like, "Get ready for Tebow. Get ready for Tebow," and that's what they called the play, which is kind of cool. And one of the sad moments of the game, if there were any for a Titans fan, is you watch Mariota come in for that play. He starts on the left side of the formation, motions over. They snap direct to Henry, and as Davis is running through the middle, he's kind of covered up, And Mariota's like 2 hands over in the corner of the end zone, never fucking sees him.
No,
and it's
did
kind of
not
sad.
even turn. Didn't even turn. Dude, I felt bad for him. I honestly did. I was like, God damn, dude, he was wide open. I mean, wide open.
You feel for the guy, but I mean, it's the way it's gone this year, and
he's gone. He's
gone.
No, he's gone. He's done. He won't be a Titan any longer. He'll be in Chicago next year. He'll be a backup. No, what? No.
Cleveland.
No, he's going to end up starting for Chicago next year. You watch. That's my fucking call.
I was so jacked. It was such a great game plan that they ran in that game. There was not a flaw in there. Vrabel, I was all over Vrabel early this season. Vrabel has completely won me over. I don't know what changed with him, but dude, he completely won up John Harbaugh. He made Lamar Jackson look really bad in the first half, and because they're a team that can't come from behind, the game was over. I mean, and then you start to see the lack of playoff experience on that roster. When they got in a hole, they didn't know what to do, and they started to kind of get worried. And they played completely out of character. They were dropping passes. It must have been 7 or 8 drop passes in that game. The Ravens just kind of pissed away any chance that they had to really make it competitive. And then when they were putting up all the garbage time yards, the game was just completely out of hand in the second half. But it was, from a Titans fan perspective, it was really fun to watch.
Yes.
Dude, like the mullet dude, he dropped at least 3. Was it Snead, Stellar, where the fuck his name?
Yeah, Snead did. Mm-hmm.
Dude, he did. I mean, I remember. I know he had to have dropped at least 3. Surely.
There's a tight end too. Not Andrews. It was the other guy that some first rounder they had. Long hair. I can't think of his name.
Hurst.
Yeah.
Hurst.
Yeah, hit him in the damn shoulder pad, and he
right there.
Oh my word!
Then he looked like this, and it's like, no, that's your job, buddy.
Yeah.
And that was the only touchdown. Was Hurst.
Yeah. They looked terrible, man, and they looked terrible quick. When Lamar couldn't get past the line of scrimmage, he didn't look like he knew what to do with himself. I mean, he was just he looked beside himself. Mark Ingram,
he wasn't even there.
He wasn't ready, man. He wasn't ready to play. He wasn't. You were right. You were right, man. He was not ready to go, and they weren't shy about not letting him go because he only had 6 carries for 22 yards.
Yeah, and he had that. It was his calf was wrapped up every time he was on the sideline. They put a wrap on it immediately.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every time, and dude, he was taking it off, going running a play, coming right back off, and putting the wrap back on.
They looked like a talented team that was just they lacked experience, like you said. They're not playoff ready, obviously, and I mean, going into it, I have this intuition that only playoff games are won basically from running the ball on defense. And I question the Lamar Jackson style of offense going into the playoffs. And I mean, I'm not some guru, but so far, defense and running the ball is what has won people games in the playoffs. It's not hard. It's what happens for some reason or another. And the Titans, man, I tell you what, I said earlier before the show that I said one trick pony, and you corrected me, and I've had enough time to think about it. And they're not a one trick pony. I don't think they are. I think Tannehill has legitimately got something to talk about here, even with only 150 yards between two games. The way he's managing the games is, and I hate to use that term, but it's working right now for them. Obviously, he's not doing stupid things. He's doing smart things, and they're not super risky, but I don't feel they're being as conservative as some. I feel like they're letting him do some things, which I appreciate that. I think that's another Vrabel, thing, to let the guy be himself a little bit. I appreciate that. But, shit, man, I don't know. After watching, Kansas City, this game between Titans and Kansas City coming up, I don't know.
All right, so I get what you're saying about Tannehill in the last 2 weeks, but let me just – I know we were talking about it. You said I kind of changed your mind, but let's just go over his stats in the last 4 fucking games. The Raiders, he had 391 yards. Texans, 279 with a loss. That's when they lost to him. The Saints, he had 272 yards, and then the win against Texas was 198 yards. Dude, in those games right there, he had 10 touchdowns thrown. I mean, that's amazing.
On how many interceptions do you know? I'm sorry for interrupting.
2. No. Always interrupt me. I'm cool with that. No, 2. He had 2 interceptions for that stretch of 4 games. He's had 1 in the playoffs so far, and that was against the Patriots.
Yeah, he did what was asked. It's great.
Yeah, and he's had 3 touchdowns passing in the last 2 games, plus a rushing touchdown last week. So he had 3 touchdowns last week alone. So I mean, because a lot of people are saying the same thing, though. A lot of people are saying that it's all on Derrick Henry. Yeah, I give you that. And it's going to stay on Derrick Henry until Derrick Henry can't do it anymore. I don't blame him fucking be for it.
I disagree with you. I think this is all a product of Ryan Tannehill. I think the last couple games, and no one's going to look at this and see it right up front, but if you had Marcus Mariota in there at quarterback, they would play the run differently, and it wouldn't be there. People know that you can't put 8 men in the box and run blitz every down, first down, second down, because Tannehill can change the play at the line because he's a veteran quarterback and he can beat you deep. A lot of the stuff the completions he did have, they were long passes.
Yes.
And, he's got guys streaking down the field, which gives you something to think about. That's one of the reasons why those running lanes have been there for Derrick Henry. And it just hasn't come up because Henry gets so many carries. You think, okay, well, that's all they're doing. And they still can't stop him. So Henry has a certain aspect of this. But Tannehill being a veteran quarterback, if a young quarterback were in there, he would feel the pressure to take things on himself and try to force it. Tannehill is I think there's a lot of times that we don't even know about that he goes up to the line, it's a pass play, and he checks it to a run, which is a veteran quarterback move because, there's a lot of times like a Baker Mayfield or somebody will drop back there knowing that it's the wrong play, try to throw it into coverage and try to make something happen. So I think him allowing the game plan to take over and set the table for this whole thing.
I like that take.
All right, well, let's back it up, though. What are you disagreeing with me about?
Well, you said Henry was the biggest thing. I think Tannehill is a little bit bigger factor. Not that Henry's not. I mean, but I think
in the actual 2 games, stat-wise, no, it's Henry.
Stat-wise, rushing yards. But I think that most of that is generated by the fact that you have 17 at quarterback. And
I absolutely agree.
The way he's managing things.
Yes, and that was my point. That's why I was bringing up all these stats of, he is a great quarterback, so he's getting respected by the teams, which is given Derrick Henry.
Right. Yeah. Well, I wasn't talking shit to you.
You absolutely were.
I was just giving a different perspective, man.
God damn it.
Gosh,
what the fuck am I doing here? What the fuck?
Smart water working for you.
It ain't working. So, all right. So let's call it. Who do y'all got for Sunday?
Titans. Taking the Titans. I took the Titans last week. I think it's going to be competitive. I think that there's a lot of aspects of this game that the Titans can capitalize on. But I will conditionally say they'll win the game if they can start out and keep it close or get an early lead. If they get behind, I don't think they're going to catch up. But if it's close at halftime or if they have like a 7-point lead, I'm going to give Titans the edge, and I think that that's going to be the case.
Miles?
Oh, I want to go for the Titans. I really do. But I think I'm going to go for the Chiefs. I don't want to go for them, but I think they're going to win. This is what I say. I think they're going to win. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, it'll be.
No, yeah. You're muted, motherfucker. I can't believe you. What the
You don't
fuck?
have that authority.
I absolutely.
You muted him. What a cunt. Oh my God, this is not around the horn. Knock it off. Don't be pulling the Tony reality.
Hey, listen though, I like what I'm seeing though as far as the money line on the odds. They're really not giving a big of a favorite to Kansas City as I thought they would.
It's
Those
just
are like
a 6
points.
Vegas
6.
isn't. I don't look at that. I look at the money line. Do you know how to read money lines?
I don't.
All right,
Not
I'll
really.
tell you real quick. Basically, Kansas is negative 320, which means you have to pay $320 to win $100. Okay. Tennessee is plus 260, which means you have to pay $100 to win $260.
Right.
Gotcha.
I
So
heard
they're the underdog. Tennessee's the underdog, but not significantly. Last week they were, I think, a lot closer. But
Yeah.
so they're a little bit more the underdog there. I don't know the spread though. I'd have to look at that.
I want to say they're giving them. I wanted to say they were giving Kansas City 5 or 6.
Let me see. I haven't got to check the spread.
Well, when I initially
Oh.
heard it, it was 7, but that was early in the week.
I'm seeing 7.5 now.
Oh
Wow.
7.5.
It's going to be a good game. It's going to be fun to watch. And if Kansas City wins, like I being full disclosure, my heart's in it. I've been level all year trying to be reserved because you're waiting for the other shoe to fall. And I've really gotten on board these last couple weeks. I really want the Titans to pull this out. But if Kansas City wins it, I won't be heartbroken. I think that they're a great team. And, I mean, they could very easily beat the Titans if it turned out that way. I would pull for them in the Super Bowl versus whoever.
I agree. I'm going with the Titans, and yeah,
They're only putting this game at 52.5 total points.
Wow, that is kind of low.
I think that's low. I would take over for that. I would assume that there would be more than that.
Well, when they played earlier this season, it was 35-32. I mean, what's
Yeah.
that? That's 68 points.
Yeah, that's way over 52.
Yeah.
and I mean, fuck, Kansas City just scored 51 points last week.
Exactly. I know.
Yeah, like no problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
I might place a bet.
There you go. Yeah,
Nice.
I can't do it.
No,
I've never betted on a game.
I haven't either, man. I haven't
Never
either, and I
have
want
money to
to.
bet on a game. That's my problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's my problem too, dude. The same problem. I just don't have the money to bet on it.
I want to try, but I'm scared I'll like it too much. I bet on fantasy for a whole season, like $20 for the whole season.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's an entry fee though.
That's
That's
different.
technically. Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's a technical thing, but not really.
No.
But
All right. Well, I'm going to say Chiefs and 49ers are going to be playing in the Super Bowl.
all right, I'm going to say it's 49ers against the Titans.
49ers Titans.
All right.
Make
So
it
y'all
happen.
want to check in next week?
That's fine.
Let's do it.
Do the Super Bowl
Super
thing.
Bowl edition.
All
Rock and
right.
Y'all take it easy. We'll see you then.
Later.
All right.